Hello there everybody, how's it going? How have you been? Welcome back to SpaceChem. In the last episode we did the 2 required production levels of Hypostasis 4. They weren't that difficult. I kinda challenged myself a little more than I had to with this first one, but did it anyway. Now, like usual, I'm going to be doing the bonus level before I go into the defense level. And the bonus level might take up this whole episode, I honestly don't know. And from here, you can see why. Got very interesting input of silicon dioxide, and then we have tanks of arsenic and boron. But more importantly, we have very big molecules to make. And let me put the math in a very simple manner. It takes 3 silicon dioxide to make 1 of the necessary silicon fragments for each output, and we have to make 120 in total. This is the level that I mentioned way back at the beginning that the solution can take minutes to run at speed 4. It is very slow, but that was the old solution I made. I have no idea. Maybe I'll make a better one. But, as a result, I do remember essentially the plan I used to solve this level, which was take a... Can it fit there? It's a little cut off, but it'll fit there. Which is basically have one reactor making silicon fragments. Just full-sized silicon fragments. Have another, or rather, and have it send half of the silicon fragments it makes to the ship that wants it. Have it send the other half into the rest of the solution. Sorry about that, I'm a little spacey tonight. And of course it would happen to set in just as I decided to sit down and record. Anyway. And basically what the half of the silicon fragments that go into the rest of the solution will have happened to them, and it's a very weird way to put it. Basically, I'm just going to knock out the center silicon atom, bring in either the arsenic or the boron, and replace it. And I can do that if I am very smart with how I arrange the bonders. So, I'm definitely going to go into a time-lapse for this while I build a solution. But I know I'm going to need... Let's see. Half of these silicon fragments go to the ship, the other half go into this first reactor. And here's a good question. Do I want to combine the arsenic and the boron into one pipe with another reactor? Or do I want to do something really crazy and say, make the negative silicon fragments in this reactor, have half go into the freighter, and have half of those come out, and swap the arsenic out for a boron? I could. Either way's pretty equally valid. If I do it the latter way, that is, send half of all the negative silicon fragments I make to the ship and have the other half swapped into the positive fragments, that will mean that the positive fragments will be made the slowest. Because basically the first fragment will go to the ship, the second one will come down here and be turned into an negative. Third fragment will go into the ship, fourth one will come down and be made into a positive. So they're going to be coming in last, but at the same time that might just be the simpler option. Yeah, you know what, let's just go ahead and... Oh wait, can I? I can't, because I just realized I need a pipe leading from this reactor to the recycler to to delete the silicon atom I'm throwing out. So I could do it another way, and I could have... Yeah, and same deal if I try to swap the arsenic out for the boron, in that one pipe has to lead to the recycler, one pipe has to lead to the ship. Although in that one's case, it's not so bad. So, how about instead, let's just take a basic little sensor reactor, and this guy will just, he won't do anything to the arsenic or the boron, he'll just throw them out the same output space. Can I actually do that? I can if I alternate, so, okay. And then, I'm sure I'm not making a whole lot of sense here, but it'll make sense once you see the solution in action, hopefully. Yeah. Stop wiggling, pipe. Alright. And there we go. Okay, so out of the lower output, I do want to send silicon fragments. Up this output, I want to send... Oh boy, I have to find them. Well, here's arsenic. Which seems a very dangerous compound to use on your pieces of silicon, but whatever. Oh, and boron comes up the same pipe. This guy, out of his upper output, he will make either... Once I duplicate all the atoms on the note, he will make either the negative fragments or the positive fragments. And this reactor, because it's a sensor reactor, will be able to tell the difference between them and sort them accordingly. So, with all that yammering out of the way, which I apologize a little bit for, I'm going to go into a time lapse, and I will see you guys once I make the solution. Okay, everyone, I'm back. Took me a bit of time, mostly because I realized that this reactor can't make the silicon fragments, the completed silicon fragments, I should say, because of the oxygen atoms. Those also have to be thrown into the recycler to be tossed out. So instead what I had to do is I had to make a machine that would extract the silicon atoms from the silicon dioxide and just build them in little sets of 3. You probably noticed me test this really quick just because I wasn't 100% sure it would work, and I wanted at least the first reactor in the chain to operate correctly. This reactor simply puts them together in... Red basically puts 3 of the layers together before it will be in a spot where he can pick up the whole set. And I realize now I can't do this because I need these vertical bonds across all of them. Oh wait, no, easy fix. Bond. There we go. Okay, so now what he will do is, first layer, pretty much nothing will happen, it'll just get dropped right here. Second layer that comes in, it will, the rightmost silicons will be bonded, and then he will drag it, the rest of it across these 2 bonders to connect the rest. And I'm doing this rather than laying a set of 2x3 bonders down, because that will start reinforcing connections between the silicon atoms, and I don't want that. And basically by having the grab here, he will only be able to pick it up once the 3rd layer is in place. And then likewise, that's the only time something will actually be here for blue to pick up and move. Now, it does seem a little silly having blue run every single time red handles 1 layer as opposed to just whenever red successfully makes a whole fragment. But because it's an odd number of layers, I think it'll still be alright for him to alternate which ways the fragments go out. This reactor, red picks up the silicon fragments he's given, brings them down here, turns blue on, and then holds still. I'm doing this because if I didn't, red would not be holding onto this outer ring of silicon. So if he tried to sever the bonds between the outer ring and the inner silicon and then send it out, both of them would be thrown out. But he can't put it down, break the bonds, and then pick it back up and move it, because then he'd slam the ring into the inner silicon before he could hit the output command. So I just have him turn on blue and wait for blue to do that little step for him. Simple enough. And then he runs over here, puts the ring down, calls in an arsenic or a boron, connects the 2 across these 3 bonders, which I have modified the note to reflect, so it won't actually make fully formed silicon positive and silicon negative fragments, but it's very easy enough job for the next reactor to handle. By just putting the bonders down underneath where the nearly completed fragments come in, I can just forge the bonds right on the spot. And then red just uses the sensor to distinguish between the 2, blue gets the day off, and finally this little reactor, basically just red moves an arsenic over and sends it out, turns on blue, blue moves a boron over and sends it out, turns on red, so on. Alright, so let's see how well this works. I'm just showing this reactor at a slow speed, in case it was just too much of a blur during the time lapse. A little bit of weird logic here, but basically if blue did not delete the single bond he used to move this silicon atom over, we would have a single bond between these 2 and a double bond between these 2, which we can't have. I'm going to just just go ahead and click up to speed 2. And excellent. Looks like red is attaching the layers together just fine. And he moved over the completed thing, which blue sent forward. Over here. Yep. We take out the inner silicon. Red attaches the new inner atom. And then this red finishes the bonds, sends it to the appropriate freighter. And this thing's pipe is already full. Okay. Anybody that's really interested, there you go. That's all it does. And now let me just hit speed 3 here, just so I can make sure that blue will alternate. I'm like 99% sure he will, but yeah, okay, so sweet. He alternates which way the fragments go. Okay, now, for anybody that does not believe me that this solution takes pretty long at speed 4, I told you. I told you. And I'm sure there's probably a much more efficient way of solving this. But the somewhat annoying thing with this system is that even when this freighter gets full of silicon fragments, there's still going to be fragments going to this freighter that could be coming down here to fill up these two. I'm not entirely sure how. I mean, obviously the solution would be to send 2/3 of the silicon fragments you make down here, but 2/3 is a very weird number to make when you've got 4 directions to go in. But there you go. Nearly 20,000 cycles to finish this level. Just give me a second as I do a little bit of quick math. Let's see this. You know what? I think we can take on the boss in this episode too. At least I hope so. If it's really complicated, I might just end the episode here and have a short one today. Let's see. Oh, hello. What's this? Laser reactors. This is the variable gain medium laser. Specialized reactor equipped with a laser. VGM laser reactor fires when provided with an atom of xenon and a valid gain medium molecule. Flash strobe is triggered by an atom of xenon, causing all unheld molecules in the lower half of the reactor to be obliterated. The required compound, in this case a ruby crystal, is present, the laser will fire. Okay, so this reactor has the 2 inputs on the top as opposed to on the left. And when you put a xenon atom into, I'm guessing, the lower of its 3 inputs, whatever's down here is just outright destroyed, and it attempts to fire a laser. So I guess we're using a laser to fight the boss. Ugh. Ugh, that's a kind of disturbing picture. Okay. Sure, let's see. Ugh. Yaru Golek, the Cyanide Adept? Okay. So I'm guessing this is actually like the one boss from SpaceChem I don't remember all that well. Alright, so we have to make a ruby crystal, and because it is 5 atoms tall, we actually have to build it inside of the laser. And then we just pop an atom of xenon into the side, and we're good. And interestingly enough, it looks like this VGM laser reactor counts as one of our reactor quotas, so we've only got 3 reactors we can actually put down and move. Because, yeah, I can't move this guy. Okay. Now, let me see. Is there any kind of set I can build, like specific atoms I could put together, or specific sets of atoms that I could then import into this reactor and just make its job easier. Well, I could make like these little U-shapes of aluminum and oxygen. Then that kind of makes me wonder how I'm going to make this aluminum, chromium, aluminum thing. A quick cursory glance is saying we are getting them in the right amounts, though. Ooh, okay. And if my quick math is working out the way I think it is, I think we're starting to encroach into the time window. I'm honestly not sure how I can do this. I'm obviously going to want one reactor to stall the xenon so that I can time when to fire the laser for when this big ugly thing is actually in front of me. Now, how do I want to handle this aluminum oxide and chromite drill? I'd like... do I split them? This is actually kind of confusing me a little bit. Alright, let me see. Let's do a sensor reactor. Let's actually move it down here so I've got some space to run pipes up and around and into the laser reactor. How about one super bonder there, one super bonder here. Let's funnel the... where is it? The aluminum oxide up into this guy. Let's not put the node on top of the reactor because then I might have a hard time actually accessing it. And then, let's see, well there's iron, there's chromium, there's chromium. The chromite goes into the lower reactor. There we go, so I have at least isolated these things. Now, let's have one reactor Now you are going to make this shape. And I don't think I can actually do what I wanted to do. Because it's dawning on me that I'm going to have one loose oxygen atom that has to go to the recycler. But what I wanted to do was to send like 2 aluminum oxygen set down here to have the chromium swapped into place. So well, what if I do no, I can't have the oxygen floating around in here. Because then it's just going to get in the way, and for all I know, the solution might crash if there's a loose oxygen in the way when I try to fire the ruby crystal. And perhaps more annoyingly, I don't have a reactor to install the xenon. And I'm pretty sure that with this laser reactor, it fires the moment the xenon enters. So there's not all that much I can do about that. You know what? I really hate doing this because it's a boss. But I get the sense I'm coming up on my time window. And considering the fact that I have absolutely no idea how to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish, I'm gonna end the episode here. I really don't want to do this because it is a boss. I really want to kill the boss in the same episode we see him. But I think this guy is going to be the exception to the rule, because all the other bosses, I kind of remembered at least a general idea of how to beat them. But like I said, this was the one boss I could not remember when I was thinking back. I remember pretty much every other boss except for this guy. So, unfortunately, we're not going to kill the giant robot shield space bug today. He's going to have to wait until the next episode. So, sorry for that little bit of a tease, but at least you know what you can look forward to next time, right? So, on that note, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a great time, and I hope you all had a great day. I will see you all in the next episode, where I promise we will kill this bug with a giant mining laser. And I will see you all then. Farewell for now.